episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Crimson Light Farron of Hyperion, Revan Capelli of Sargentanus, and Yoi Koinonia of Diablos. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Friends, it has been 10 short weeks since the release of the immensely popular adventure game, Lords of Verminion Go, the card game, Moon Adventure X. Today, I am crazy excited to announce the arrival of Heideland's first G Sports Arena. Yes, friends, the beautiful sunny landscape of the Uldan Manderville Gold Saucer. Good Time Gaming is launching the world's first G Sports Arena, the Monster Arena. The primary game that will be played at the G Sports Monster Arena will be Lords of Verminion Go, the card game, Moon Adventure X. We are very proud to announce a brand new G Sport, Blitz Badminton. Blitz Badminton is played underwater with two teams scoring points by punching a ball back and forth over a net. Don't worry about the water part. Winning teams get extra oxygen while losing teams get murdered. So come on down to the new G Sports Monster Arena at the Manderville Gold Saucer. The Monster Arena, our jaws that bite, our claws that catch.
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break with your hosts, Unmiro.
Now behold the horror you have wrought.
Kahlo.
I said don't take your clothes off.
Juxtaposition.
I don't get it.
Ascalia.
Holy shit, totally forgot about him.
And Nika.
Oh my god.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, episode 156. I want to thank everyone for joining us, twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, limitbreakradio.com to subscribe to the podcast. We are, of course, broadcasting live from Eorzea. You can join us on the Sargentanus server, Goblet, the 5th Ward, plot number 30. Now, before we have to over-explain, just so you guys know, there's an ice storm in like a third of the country right now. So,
oh come on, you're fucking lying. It's April right now. How could there possibly be an ice storm?
There absolutely is an ice. I mean, it's just the truth. There is an ice storm. Global warming is a thing. Sorry.
We call it climate change now.
Oh, sorry.
If climate change was a real thing, maybe you'd have like an actual point, but it's clearly fake news.
So joining me today over Zoom, we've got, of course, Kahlo, Juxta, and Nika.
All
right, so it's going to be a little bit of a different episode today. We're still taking your calls. I believe we still got a kooky, right? I'm
yes,
not. Okay,
we
good. Oh, thank God.
Do that.
Oh, thank God. I was going to say, because like if I had to run all of this shit alone, this was going to be a bit of a shit show. But Kookie's standing by to take your calls. We'd love to hear from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord if you want to call into the show. We're going to be talking about live letter. What? What?
The following podcast will contain more substance than any live letter will ever give you, which is more than your anal leakage has. Listener discretion is advised.
That's fair. Nika's in my chair.
No, you weren't here. And also, why am I sitting in the chair like I'm sitting on the ground? I'm really confused.
That is literally my chair, Nika. I have sat there for 150.
Yeah, but you weren't here, and it would look weird to not have people in the middle of the table.
Okay, I'm here now, so move.
No.
Fine. You can have my butt in your face, and how you like that?
Today's episode brought to you by Tylenol. Tylenol Juxta's #1 pain reliever for carrying the show #praise Juxta.
Yes. Nika likes Elvon ass in her face, so.
We appreciate the donations there, but unfortunately, I don't have the donation window up. So
I need to turn it on too. Then
womp womp.
He even reminded me to put it up.
I know. I was actually doing that to remind everybody, but I specifically directed it at Kahlo because I figured he would be the one to mess it up.
Well, no.
But
See,
I apologize.
Here's the cool thing. Here's the cool thing is that the wrong account is logged on over here. So
that's weird.
Yeah. So I had the window open just for a completely different Twitch account. So that's cool. Appreciate that. Way to go, guys. Awesome. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We appreciate having you along. Arguments about chairs and seating arrangement aside, I don't know why that matters, but we appreciate having you along. We want to hear from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715. LimitBreakRadio.com/Discord is how you get a hold of us. We're going to be talking all about the producer live letter that just went down yesterday, and I got to say, I'm kind of pleasantly surprised by how much we can expect coming in this next couple of patches. Like,
yes, but don't worry because there's also some stuff we have some skepticism about.
Oh, do we now?
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely a few things that we can tear Square Enix a new one.
Can't be LVR without skepticism.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm skeptical about the skepticism.
This episode also brought to you by Mrs. Freshly's. Our honey buns can help with that anal leakage.
What? How? Are you just like sticking them up there, or I mean,
Mrs. Fresh's actually has healing, nurturing components inside the ingredient list.
But is that what you do? Do you stuff it up your butt to fix it?
Do you normally do that with food?
No, but if this has healing ingredient, like how does it stop anal leakage? Just by eating it?
It's all natural.
That doesn't answer my question.
Natural ingredients prevents anal leakage.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Are we good now? Did we figure all of that out?
I hope so.
Yes.
All right. Well, proceed to continue donating because now the alert box is up. Now that the 3 donations that we're going to get the entire show have gone over, and I'm going to have to add them in post, which I'm not doing, by the way. There's just going to be large tracks of silence, I hope you know.
Nice.
So we can just add that to the list of large tracks of silence in this episode.
The same thing. I'm like, we all got silent.
Are you guys? Is this your first time doing this show? Did Juxta? Did you come on on Checkpoint this week only to forget how we do Limit Break Radio? What the fuck is going on?
No, I used all of my good radio points on Checkpoint, so now I'm tapped out. I only have a week.
Where? There's ice, man.
Is it time for
No,
the news?
it's not time for the news.
Wait, Juxta,
Where? I don't want to die because ice is on the road. Where? I can't actually be here to show up to make a good show, so I'm not even going to bother trying because I didn't have to get out of bed today.
Right,
That's you.
Fair,
That's you.
He doesn't make good shows.
No,
anyway.
that's all of you.
He says that he used up all his good ideas on Checkpoint, as if he brings my good ideas.
Yeah, I got out of
Good
bed.
idea.
I went adventuring for Mareeps. I've been out of bed. I've been all around.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
So glad you're playing Pokemon Go instead of working on LBR stuff, Nika.
Yep, I went and got ice cream too.
Anyway,
Ice cream in this ice storm that we have where we're all frozen down?
In this ice storm where it's like 70 degrees and raining.
Shut up.
Actually, it's more like 60 degrees. It's been raining now. Yesterday was like 90 though. It was stupid.
I'm glad it was raining on your stupid Mareeps that are all stupid and ugly because they're pink. Your stupid.
Actually, it's way cuter though. At least that it stays pink, unlike fucking Dragonite, which turns booger green when you evolve it.
Good. It's the color of your face because you're a booger.
What?
I'm super sad that we can't mute Nika without muting all of us.
I mean, I'm not.
Sad that we can't mute.
I'm not.
But then you are, because then you have to do a show all by yourself.
At this point, I think maybe that might be preferable.
What do you mean at this point? We're like less than 5 minutes in.
If there's news this week. Podcast over if not.
Nero, I seem to be getting some kind of echo on the donations.
I'm literally gonna fucking kill you.
Maybe you should try to audio match that away.
I'm gonna fucking kill you. Welcome to Limit Break Radio. Okay, so as long as we're talking about money and donations, patreon.com/Limit Break Radio is how you support this show. God knows why you would do that at this point. But here's the thing: is that we've got Fan Fest coming up. We're starting to prep our plans for our Fan Fest after party, which is at this point become a staple of FF14 Fan Fest. So we definitely whoa,
I don't hear an echo.
Thank you. Appreciate addressing the echo. So anyway, this is a community-wide effort amongst our listeners to support the product and help it grow. And I know that we've gotten a lot of questions about, well, when is the Let's Be Real podcast going to start? We've definitely got some work to do in that department before we're able to relaunch the Let's Be Real podcast. We've set a goal for ourselves on the Patreon of $1,300, which was the original goal to launch Final Encountercast to begin with.
Right?
No. Yeah.
It was 2,000 weekly, right?
Yeah, 2,000 to get it back weekly. We'll debut the first episode once we get to 1,300. And then if you wanted to see that show produced weekly, we're going to have to get that back above 2,000. Currently, we're sitting at 133 Patreons at a total of $1,211. And we thank you so much for your existing support because this is really helped the entire project grow. Checkpoint Radio has kind of grown out of our efforts here of Limit Break Radio. Pretty much the only way that we've been able to fund ourselves and to keep the project going is by your support over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. A project like Checkpoint Radio takes time to grow, and it's a much harder, it's a much larger hill to climb to get advertisers involved with something like that, because esports isn't usually represented on the radio, and the radio usually isn't talking about video games. So the people who would be interested in a show like this they kind of got to be coaxed along, and that takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort, and we're starting to get there with Checkpoint, but we're not there yet. And so your support over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio helps all of those projects to grow. It helps the Let's Be Real podcast get to a point.
This is important, but not the news. I want my bits back.
Fuck you! You don't get your bits back. If you want to see the Let's Be Real podcast made into an actual show, give you an idea of what to expect.
Is there going to be a good fan fest? I think we need to start watching the Sky and Erzia starting in
4.3 is how that should have ended. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to expect this year's Fan Fest, but that could be a point of discussion a little bit later on. What does Square Enix need to do for Final Fantasy XIV? What do they need to come out and announce at the next Fan Fest in order to keep you as a customer? We can talk about that here today, maybe next week, but those are the kinds of discussions that we have here on Limit Break Radio.
Fan Fest A. Perhaps a Callow Cuddle Sesh Part 2.
You come on out, Aerodon. We'll make that happen. Although this time we'll charge for pictures.
That's weird. It's weird when you say it like that.
Why?
Yeah, why? That's a financial opportunity.
No, I get it. I don't think I was seductive enough. Except this time, we'll charge for pictures.
Okay.
See, now I just threw up in my mouth.
I mean, if I go to conventions and I pay for celebrities' pictures, we can charge, right?
Yeah, but why would we do that? We're not. Listen, fine. Easily, we're as big a celebrities as Mr. Belding, right? Like, fine, I'll accept that. Mr. Belding from Saved by the Bell, right? But he was charging like $40 for an autograph.
Wow.
I wouldn't do it, but who's paying $40 to get Mr. Belding's autograph?
I was gonna say that's a lot for Mr. Belding. I would maybe charge like a drink. Like if you buy me a drink, you can come in and take pictures of me cuddling with people.
Apparently he doesn't drink anymore. But because I tried to buy him a drink because I felt really bad for him. But I stayed in the room next to him when I went to Alamo City Comic Con. He definitely heard me have sex. Definitely. There's no way he didn't hear me have sex. Because he gave me a look the next morning like, yeah, that's what's up. And I'm like, that's weird, Mr. Belding. That's very weird, but okay. Anyway, your support at patreon.com/limitbreakradio helps us do really cool stuff like throw a FanFest after party, like, continue to grow the brand and continue to bring you a weekly podcast. And I just heard through the grapevine that there was another Final Fantasy XIV podcast that just had to put themselves on hiatus status. I'm not going to name any names, but it's okay. Listen, it's okay. All of you listeners to that other hiatus podcast, you can come over here to Limit Break Radio and get your weekly fill of Final Fantasy XIV talk.
For about 2 more weeks.
How about a general gaming show to the Patreon? Hashtag praise Juxta.
That's what Let's Be.
That's a great idea.
That's
Frumpy.
what
Praise
a
Juxta.
fantastic. Shut up. What a great idea. That's what Let's Be Real is. That's what the Let's Be Real podcast is. So anyway, patreon.com/limitbreakradio. That's how that gets done. All right. Let's check out what's going on in the news.
This is a Limit Breaking News Update.
I'm not sure where I'm supposed to come in at this because I can't hear it, but for all of those people, God damn it.
And Hero is gonna be drunk again.
Nika headcanon.
For all of those of you. Took me a second to get that.
Wow.
Amiro, cover your ball sack. Nika's on the prowl.
Oh man. Here I come, guys.
For all those of you that were clamoring for and paying for the news, there is none today.
Yeah,
so we can talk about the live letter now.
Oh, okay. So I can just turn off the music. There we go.
Yeah, just turn off the music.
Music's done.
Okay, but that's our main discussion, Nika. So we don't put it in the news.
Well, you could say that news is our discussion, and then at least it justifies the music.
Are you guys selling Justice this year?
What the fuck?
What?
I mean, is there a market for that?
What?
I mean, yeah, I've got plenty of it.
Wasn't there a point in time where you guys were like trying to sell my tears too? I think that was the thing, wasn't it?
Yes, let's do that. Yes, let's sell plenty of small vials of clear liquid that we don't have to verify what it actually is. We can label it a whole bunch of stuff. Nika's tears, Juxta's sweat, Aniro's salt.
Kahlo's semen.
Thank you, Mango.
Bodily fluid.
Thank you, Mango Ferreria, for contributing to the Patreon. We appreciate it. But yes, our main subject of discussion is the producer live letter. There's a lot to talk about because, I mean, I don't know. Did you guys expect as much as they talked about? Like, I think I was expecting to get a dungeon preview and maybe a little bit of like a hint of where the MSQ is going next. And
I think that they talk a little bit about the next Eureka too.
Yeah, I was not expecting the Eureka. I would have thought that would have come in the patch 4.3 preview part 2.
Yeah, see, considering that it's 2 parts, that's what surprised me. I mean, the fact that they just told us what it was, I guess I'm not surprised about that. I think what I'm waiting for now is if part 2 is just Eureka, then it all sort of fits in and makes sense, right? But if they expand upon even more stuff in part 2, yeah, this patch is actually looking bigger than what we're used to getting.
Bigger than anything in Stormblood at the very least.
It feels bigger. I mean, it feels substantially bigger because, you know, not only do we get a preview of the Evil East raid, we've also got Beast Tribe quest coming. I mean, you know, new MSQ, obviously, focusing on the Domicide, but we're also getting, you know, an expansion, the next installment of Eureka, and officially, we have heard now the next Deep Dungeon, Heaven on High. We'll talk about all of that coming up today here on Limit Break Radio. But before we start, let's go to our phone lines, and I think so. I'm not sure if they're ready yet or not. I'm still getting kind of used to running all of the phone lines. So hopefully we've got Hazel Sky of Coral on the line. Hazel, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you? Boy, butter only dollar. Butter your bread with a slice of the good stuff.
Oh my God. Our audience is so gross.
It's just frumpy. It's all frumpy raccoon.
I know. He's
praised to beat the Juxta.
Anyway, Hazel, thanks for giving us a call here on Limit Break Radio. What's going on?
Hey, so I stayed up for the live letter, and I guess we found out something a little bit interesting. You hear about what they're doing with the raid, like how they're going to change the loot system on that?
No,
24-man.
24-man raids, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is that okay, so they're gonna take need out of the equation completely. Everyone who goes in, you know, you're gonna get maybe like 2 items out of your chest, and everyone can greed on anything. There's no need rolls. So let's say that you're a tank and you go in specifically because you want tank gear. You're still gonna be competing with everyone else in your party for that tank gear, even if you went in as a tank. This is some bullshit.
At the same time, like, you still have the weekly loot lockout. So how often are people actually going to roll against you for?
That's true. That's true. Dude, I feel like this doesn't really impact you until they lift that weekly loot restriction.
No. Here's what's going to happen.
No, it sort of does, because like right now, if you go in as tank, you're the only tank in your group. You're guaranteed to get the things that drop. Now, if people want tank gear, they can go in on their better geared samurai and still roll on tank gear, rather than having to go on tank and then getting tank.
I feel like the only problem that tanks are really going to be the only one who are like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, in a consistent manner, I think tanks will consistently get screwed over. Now, if you're another job,
it's not getting consistently screwed over. It's now you just have potentially more competition in loot, like or for rolls. Like that's just, I don't know. Like,
what I mean is tanks will probably run into that more often than like a ninja or a bard will.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Still, I remember before thinking like, oh, I'm the only like samurai or monk, which means like I'm definitely gonna get any striking gear that drops, and now anyone can roll on it, and it's a little scary. I don't know.
Now it's fair because the healers always had that problem. So go fuck your guys self.
Yeah,
and fuck your loot privilege.
Actually, suddenly, as I'm thinking about it, you're right. Tanks never had to worry about competition for
not except for like the very first Crystal Towers.
Now they do, and isn't the raids is the one sort of duty finder thing to where you're actually better off going in as a DPS if you have it, because you get in quicker, right?
Well, but I mean, think about it though. Like if you follow the eye level progression of the last couple of patches, this eye level set of gear is probably going to be instantly outclassed by whatever gets put into the next phase of Eureka. So I feel like, if you've got the choice between both of those, that, this, I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem.
Unless you're a tank.
I do.
Okay, Hazel. Okay, Hazel. What job are you?
I main on Red Mage.
Okay. So why do you think this is going to be a huge problem?
You already had like Black Mage and Samurai competing against you.
Exactly.
So check this out. Not only do I have, that means I have other mages. I used to just have like other summoners and other Black Mages competing against me. So if I joined in and I saw that there was another Black Mage, I might be able to look and see, oh, has he already gotten some of this gear? Oh yeah, he already has the gloves. I'm looking for the gloves. So I know that, hey, going into this, there's a good chance that if the gloves drop, I'm going to be the one who's going to be able to need on them because he's not going to grab them. Now, Now, let's say that I've got a friend who's a black mage, and he decides, hey, you know what? I don't want to wait for the black mage queues, or I don't want to wait for the white mage queues. I'm going to roll on tank. And he jumps in as tank. He can still loot on the same stuff that I need, because if his main is black mage, he can still loot on it even though he's on tank. Like, basically this makes it so that if your main is not very popular as a if it takes a long time for you to queue on one of these raids, and you decide, okay, I want to go as something that's going to queue faster, but still you still get to loot on the stuff that you on the stuff for your main.
Yeah, Hazel, look at it from the other side, though. Here. Imagine if the job your main that you're supposed to queue on to get your loot takes an hour to get in, then you get in and nothing drops. That sucks too. Sure, look. If I went in as a ninja, because this last raid tier, I didn't see a lot of ninja stuff drop. So had it dropped one time and somebody else got it, would that suck for me? Yeah, sure, it probably would. But overall, this is actually a lot more fair. And if you can go in on a quicker job to do more runs and potentially get something, but who cares?
Cal, answer this though. But why did they decide that the fix for this was to get rid of need and make greed only instead of just implementing a token system for 24 bans? Like, that would have made it so much more fair.
No, because with the token system, you go in literally, let's say you just have one job. You go in 5 weeks in a row, have all the gear you want, you stop doing it, period.
I like what Ish says in the chat room. Just keep running the dungeons till you get the drop. Filthy casuals want day one drops. I agree, Ish. I agree. Just hand it to me, man.
They're doing this to keep people doing it longer now?
That's what that is. Yes, it promotes the grind. The only benefit of this move is that it means that people will be forced to run the content more often every week, which means that there will be more total people running the content even up to the last day of the weekly cycle. So on Monday
that
night,
sounds terrible. I hate when I log in on the last day and nobody wants to do anything.
Or I just stay in Eureka and get better gear anyway.
And like, no, that's the good. That's the only good that comes out of this. The bad that comes out of this is that it makes it more grindy for everybody in total.
If you really want the gear, and at that point, it's really just for glams, right? Like, who really cares?
I know, but it just screams to me of this. Like, I know 14 is a business venture. I know it's a product that has to be sold. But like previously, at least it kind of felt like, we, the players, were kind of being treated to something that was like, developed with love and care and respect. And now it really just feels like, the halcyon days are gone and Enix is just going to milk us now.
But this does feel like it actually does address somewhat of a game design problem, where people go through, they get either the 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 pieces that they want, and then they check out. If you're making people have to queue more often, it should mean that the queue time for everyone, in theory, should be less oppressive. So, like in that way, I actually do think that this isn't the worst thing, and the surefire way that this will never affect you is to never have shitty rolls. If you have a shitty roll, it's because you're a shitty person and you're bad at the game, and you should just quit.
I've always thought that was one of the marvels of Square Enix, was how they were able to actually attach the role to how good of a person you are.
Exactly. It's an incredible morality system that Square Enix has developed here.
No, but the problem is, like, RNG being the bitch it is, you could actually go, there's more opportunities now for you to go the entire week having run 3 times a day and still never getting the stuff you need, having it drop like Monday night at like freaking midnight, and some paladin rolls on it, and you were on DPS being like, great, I needed that. That was what I needed.
And that's fair, because a lot of times too, on my when it gets that close to the end of the week and I don't have my gear yet, I just roll on anything to get a piece of gear. So at that point, there is going to be people just rolling green on anything so that they get something, and then the piece you really want drops, and you can't need over them.
Well,
and
then be a good player and don't have bad rolls.
It's really hard for me to take to feel for either of you when your argument comes down to, I needed that.
Like,
yeah,
I mean, so selfish about this.
Jesus, like it really is. It's sort of like, oh well, I don't want to waste my time queuing more, and I guess I understand
I don't
that.
Play the game.
But no, I'm talking about when it gets to the right before the reset and people are just rolling on anything, and like you end up not being able to get the piece you're just
right. But
on.
the easy handouts have been part of the problem of the game overall. This is greater loot competition across the board. I actually think that that's probably a good thing.
You know what? We could just do what Frumpy Raccoon says, and maybe they should just put all the stuff in the cash shop. How about that, Hazel? Would that make you feel better? Maybe then you wouldn't feel like they were squeezing so much out of you.
Hazel, thanks for the call. We appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah, no worries. Have a good one.
Yeah, take it easy. Give us
like Hazel doesn't have very good rolls.
Hazel's a bad person.
Give us a call. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We want to hear from you about your reactions to the live letter that went down this weekend. All right, let's actually talk about the live letter.
Mm-hmm. So, just so you know, in here, I did put links to all the different pictures that they had for each motherfucker.
I am still waiting in queue for Chimera for 2 weeks. I want my relic.
Stop! Why would you do that to yourself?
Especially because you could just
go in and solo
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, oh my god.
The other thing I'd like to say to Square Enix is putting all of your like recaps and notes on Twitter instead of in an official forum post was the stupidest thing you've ever done. I fucking hate that now, but whatever. So patch 4.3 is called Under the Moonlight. It's scheduled for release in late May. Estimates seem to be for like May 22nd. And as far as solo content, Jesus, motherfucker!
Real money for some just penile discharge. Opening bid $5.
Oh my god!
All right, $5. Do we hear 10?
That made me fucking gag. Gross.
I just like show garbage. I know it's worth $5.
MSQ, yes, as Nero mentioned earlier, is going to center more on the Doma side of things, which
good, that's what we wanted.
Doma's so boring.
Okay, but to be fair, what's left in Alamigo?
I mean, what's left in either side of
No. Let's be real though. Like, we liberated Alamigo in like 5 minutes, and then you think all of a sudden it's just going to be this perfect country? Like, there's definitely other shit going down over there. It makes zero sense for us to ignore it.
Okay, well, guess what? It has yet to interest me. So if they suddenly come up with something cool and interesting, great, awesome, that'll be cool. Actually, something I wanted to ask on the picture, we see King Guy, whatever his name is. Hien, yes, we see Hien. We see Yugiri. Who's the other dude on like the far
the white guy?
Right? Yeah, is that somebody we know?
He's from the last patch. He's the bad guy.
See, I don't even remember him.
He's what's her face? Bitch Face's little brother.
I am caught up on the MSQ, and I don't remember that dude at all.
You're not caught up because he was basically the most important character.
He's Bitch Face's little brother.
Main scenario quest completed. To be continued.
You can just say that. There's no proof.
Okay. And then also there's quests including the Four Lords, but we are not getting a Four Lords battleground this time, or a trial this time. Apparently the trial we're getting this time is secret. We've been told there's going to be a normal and an extreme mode, but it's not tied to the Four Lords. Now we are getting a Hildebrand quest. Do you think that the new trial could be in Hildebrand?
You know, as much as we can sit here and wish for it, they ain't going to do that. I hope so.
They don't even know what to do with Hildebrand, even in, like, within the quest line. You think they have enough foresight to actually make a trial for that shit?
All they have to do is go back to the way they were doing it in 2.0. How is that hard?
Clearly it is, because they haven't been doing that for 2 expansions now.
Well, there's a lot of stuff they haven't been doing for 2 expansions. They've started to do now. I mean, Eureka is showing actual progress in the way they develop stuff. You don't think that maybe we could hope that whatever they're doing there spreads to other parts of the game?
It just wouldn't make any sense. Like, why would they just now start doing trials, or hard or normal and extreme modes as trials of the side quests of the Hildebrand side?
Well, the extreme part makes sense because we've never gotten an extreme Hildebrand.
I mean, it might just be something as part of the MSQ.
That's probably the best.
Well,
bet.
I mean, my question is though, how are they going to do the rest of the Lord's fights?
We're two more plus the big guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you want to do Kieran in there too.
Well, they'll still do them as trials. I just don't think we're getting one now because isn't the way that we parsed it out last time is if we get one every other patch now, it'll end.
Kieran is already the little pony that you read.
That is true. Yeah, I wonder how they'll.
We can't. I don't think we get Kieran. I think the big evil guys are quote Kieran.
Yeah, it's not going to be Kieran. It's going to be something else.
No, that's a little disappointing.
Yeah. Gisela says maybe they will put the lords in dungeons. Oh.
No,
I mean Genbu was a dungeon boss, but it kind of made sense for the story.
Could they double up the next two like that, like where
and make one of them a dungeon boss and the next one a trial?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I don't know how I'd feel about that.
But that would suck.
I mean, I sort of thought that
being a normal boss sucked.
Anthropomorphic Tiger Man was a little silly itself. So I don't know that I need to go that far.
If they dedicated an entire dungeon to the lords now from a content perspective, because then it would just be a dungeon that you repeat like everything else, that would kind of suck. But the idea that an entire dungeon was centered around them instead of just a circle room, that part's kind of cool.
As long as the dungeon fit to the lore, like I would like, how some of the dungeons have lore within them. As long as if this was a dungeon specifically pertaining to the lore story and something like Tenzin had been there and had done this, that would be cool.
Yes, that I think that would be the one draw to it. But then the downside, which I think is actually probably bigger than the pro, is the fact that then it's just a dungeon, and after you do it once, why the fuck would you go back?
Well, other than to grind it every week.
Well, yeah,
or every day, whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing is that we got to get used to grinding it. So there's that too.
Some of the other things alongside the main scenario quests, they are going to be introducing the debut of the Namazu Beast Tribe quest. Now, why don't I recognize that?
Namazu with little catfish things.
Oh, okay. Because weren't we in one of our previous shows? We were thinking that the next beast tribe might be the Anata that are over near Alamigo, right?
What? We already
have the Anata. Where have you been?
Not doing the Anata.
Jesus, clearly.
Oh my god!
All right, so the last ones that were introduced were Ananta, and they're basically the same as the turtle guys. The next ones are going to be Namazu, which we also predicted would be the crafting quests, and they are. So we were right.
Construction of the Doman Enclave, which is the place where
you can find Hien and Yugiri chilling.
Where he gave his big rousing speech to
yes, and now there's an Aetherite to teleport there, which there wasn't before.
Oh, good.
So we can go and watch it get constructed because that makes a whole lot of fucking sense, Square Enix.
I mean, yeah, I kind of like how like Mordona would get bigger, and even like the little area where the Ananta Beast Tribe quests are has kind of changed a little bit. But like this area is so far out of the way, unless they put something there for us to do, like seeing it build up is kind of not as exciting as it should be.
I think I have a feeling that every MSQ patch we're going to get directed back there for some reason to see how it's getting built up. But I do agree that that's a really bad way of doing it. And I think, you want to direct players to a kind of central player populated zone. We've got two of them, Kugane and Ralgar's Reach. And neither one of them seem to be very dynamic. And
Ralgar's Reach was is similar to the Mordona or the Idleshire of this patch. And we've talked about before how it doesn't really make sense for them to build up Ralgar's Reach. It already is what it needs to be. It is
built up, yeah.
So it is kind of interesting that they chose Ralgar's Reach as, the tome location and the place where we basically idle and then building up the Doman Enclave, which before the last patch, I only went there once and I was like, oh, hey, there's a boat. I can,
hold on.
Go here.
You guys think that the Doman Enclave is going to be the equivalent to what Mordona and Idleshire was?
No, I think, no.
Only in the way that it's going to be built up and changed between
which is silly, because already Ralgar's Reach is that equivalent in terms of where we buy all the tomes and we do all of that stuff. So it
they
seems
shouldn't have
silly
separated the two
to
things.
Separate them, right? Because the Doman Enclave is so far out of the way. You have to specifically, like, now that we have an aetheryte, I guess we can go there easier now, but you had to like click on the boat, go there, and there's nothing to do there.
Yeah.
Well, there's a level 70 quest for story that you do there that you get nothing from, and the main story quest kind of once in a while directs us there, but it's not a place that has foot traffic. Like, it's not a place that...
It's literally the same thing as what the Mog quests were when you were building up that stupid place next to the dragon altar. But at least that was to go there either.
But at least that was in an open zone, so you'd fly by it if you were doing a hunt.
Okay,
you'd go by, like, that was still in an open space. This is like a separate zone completely, and it feels really weird that this is the area they're choosing to build up unless something is going to happen there.
I don't know that I'd hold my breath for that. The other cool thing that I don't think that they talked too much about, they just showed this little preview, but we do know what the next installment of the Return to Ivalice is going to be, and that was something that you didn't mention earlier, Nero. And this whole big giant thing that we're getting on top of Deep Dungeon, MSQ, and all this new stuff, we're also getting the next Return to Ivalice, and it is the Rito Rana Lighthouse.
Now, does anyone know what connection this has to
11 or sorry 14?
To either to 12 or Tactics.
12.
Dummy.
Ignorant story.
Let's see what the Final Fantasy wiki says.
What does it say?
Apparently that this is part of Pharos, which isn't that the last place you go to that has like all the floors and stuff?
Wasn't this place with the sun cyst?
It says the Pharos of Rito Rana as a location in the land of Ivalice. It's an optional dungeon hidden underneath. Blah 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 blah.
In Tactics.
Is it
in 12?
12.
In 12? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember going here. It's been a long time since I played 12.
Is there like a one of the big strong hunt bosses down there, or?
Famfrit is in there, so it's one of the Espers. Hashmal is there. Tons of bosses. So this looks like in
boss
12.
Tower.
Yeah, it's like one of the secret end gamey sort of boss towers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently Yazimit's there too. So it's
interesting.
End game area.
Yeah. So I wonder what type of purpose it's going to serve for the story that we're going through.
Because what do we have so far? We know that Ivalice has been overrun, but it is also under Garlean control, but they don't really give two shits about it because there's not much going on over there. So I wonder, there's a lot of evil monsters protecting evil things.
Oh, well, because remember the whole reason that we went to where we did in the first one was to save the two kids' father or whatever. Like, he had gone and disappeared, right?
Yes. I believe.
Yeah, so yeah, I honestly I feel like we're going into this story-wise, we're kind of going in blind, unless he's just like, there's some magic shit there, some history stuff there that I want to investigate or something.
I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I was never really that clear about the narrative getting us into the first Ivalice raid.
Fair, it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it wasn't. Like, it's really forgettable. So, I mean,
raid itself was good though.
But that's part of the problems. That's part of the problem with these alliance raids is that there's so much time in between them. You're like, oh right, that was happening the last.
This is more interesting than the last ones though, with like that group of sky pirates that were supposed to be cool and then weren't cool in the end.
I do agree with that because that was
more boobs in though.
Yeah, there was a lot of boobs there.
I like the boobs.
But this is nostalgia.
Nostalgia for a thing that I never did in a game that I didn't really like that much.
But I mean, but a lot of people, but regardless of your feelings on that, for some reason, like Ivalice as a world between Vagrant Story, Tactics, and 12, for some reason, Ivalice has this like near and dear place in a lot of like Square fans' hearts.
It does.
It does. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Ivalice.
Yeah, you also know a lot of people are looking forward to FF15. This is the problem. There was a certain sense of curiosity, wondering how Ivalice was going to fit into Eorzea. Because remember, Yoshi P had made a lot of weird comments on like lore wise and canon wise, right? So being able to see exactly how it fits in, I think that was one of the biggest draws, at least for me personally, going into it. And then, obviously the raid itself mechanically was great, but the narrative, by the time you got through, you didn't really care a whole lot about it. So now going into this, besides, wondering how cool the mechanics are going to be or how cool and challenging the fights are going to be, I don't know that I really give a shit about Ivalice.
Tactics plot confusing. 12 plot confusing. 14 raid plot confusing. Good job, Squinix.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, well, hold on. Stormblood's raid plot isn't confusing at all. It's just tournament arc.
He's talking about all the Ivalice plots, though.
Let's complain about it.
I mean, it's kind of what we're doing.
But was Vagrant Story's plot confusing? Did anyone play that?
Oh my god. I think I don't know. I don't know. When was the last time that I tried to play Vagrant Story? I think it was about 5 years ago, and I think it was the same reaction that I had to Dark Souls.
I was going to say, the fact that you said when was the last time I tried to play it really tells us all that we need to know about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. I mean, I'm definitely going to be interested because the one thing about Rabinasty was that the zone design was really impressive. So
it was cool.
I'll be interested to see what this is. This does kind of make me want to plug in my PS2, load up my old copy of 12, and see if I can go to that tower and see what's there. Yeah, kind of compare it. Yeah, because I mean they do a very loyal job of recreating stuff from old games. I don't know if that's the creative bankruptcy or if that's just, them trying to be as loyal as possible.
I don't think so, simply because they brought in all of the creative designers from the Ivalice stories to actually create, like they brought in the Tactics Ogre guy, right? And some people from Ivalice to be able to create the cool areas. And so I have a feeling this one's going to be cool also. And I don't believe it's creative bankruptcy simply because they have the guest people in for whatever purpose they have, but...
I mean, we kind of know what it's going to end up being. It's a location from Ivalice with a whole bunch of bosses that reference either Tactics or 12. This is what it is. I mean, anyone who's expecting much more than that.
Also, Elma's going to get kidnapped at the end of the raid, and we're going to have to plan our attack before we go and rescue her.
Who?
Elma!
Who? the halfling.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
The Hobbit.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Okay, that's fair enough. All right, so let's move on to what I think I'm actually most excited about, but also a little hesitant about.
The 4-man dungeon.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, I forgot about the 4-man dungeon. What's it called? Swallow's Crest or something? The Swallow's Compass. That's the new dungeon we're getting.
Did we get any information about it during the live letter, or just that it exists?
I don't even see a screenshot.
Yeah, I didn't find a screenshot either. So I think that it was just that it's a thing.
Probably going to be part of the MSQ.
Very, very possible. Yeah, it exists. But no. The big thing that everyone's talking about.
How did no one make a sexual joke on the Swallow's Compass? Really?
I was waiting for the. Believe me, I know all about swallowing drop, but.
I don't know your crazy drop system. You've got colors everywhere. It looked like someone ate Skittles and threw them up on the screen. Okay? No. I'm not even really trying. I'm definitely trying to run phones, but I'm not trying to hit drops.
To be fair, that Skittle thing, that probably did happen at one point or another.
Well, I do like Skittles.
Heaven on High, the next deep dungeon. And first of all, that's a dumb name.
But it's definitely the tower that goes to heaven, so that's why it's called
the thing that everybody called. Congratulations. I hope you're all proud of yourself for...
We're going up to the skies, to the heavens, and we're going to die and go to heaven. Just like the other one was we die and go to hell because it was the deep dungeon. Now we're going up high to heaven. Stop.
There was a missed opportunity for not calling it Steep Dungeon.
Wow, that was actually kind of funny. All right.
Okay, so a few things that they mentioned about it. The second Deep Dungeon, they said, is in development. It will not be a sequel to Palace of the Dead. It's literally a brand new system.
It's literally
brand new,
brand new, which means nothing the same. Right.
And
that's the part.
I know all about swallowing.
I found it.
It's in the bottom right corner.
I found it.
It's the pink one.
Yeah, it is.
Now, that
Jesus,
can
did you even try?
With this next comment, Jesus fucking hell!
Tastes just as rainbow.
All right, well, I mean, we're at $5 so far, so you might be able to taste it for a lot cheaper than what it should go for.
Go touch his dick!
Eat my dick.
Anyway,
but how vague can you be? It's literally a brand new system with brand new stuff added.
Oh, well, hold on. Also, keep in mind the next part of the quote as well, which is we're planning to include new elements, of course, and also create one where there'll be a variety of objectives, places, and playstyles. Some of the stuff that we asked for from the other Deep Dungeon.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're also potentially changing stuff up, given Square Enix's history, I think also sort of does provide a little bit of room for them to fuck it up.
Well, but the thing is that we, as a show, and I think as a certain portion of the community, do push Square Enix to be more creative with what they make. And I think it would have been massively disappointing for them to go, oh, here's Heaven on High. It's the exact same thing as Deep Dungeon with a different skin.
Right, because that's exactly what they did with Aquapolis and whatever the next one,
like of stuff.
The Annals of whatever.
That we've been asking them to do is when you do get something right, improve on it.
Well,
right?
and
Don't
I
just
think
necessarily scrap everything and then try again.
Well, and I think that they have maybe learned that lesson from Diadem to Eureka, because they did take some of the lessons that they've learned, not just from Diadem and the failures of Diadem 1 and 2, but they've also clearly taken what they've learned from Hunts and in some regards Fates, and took all of those mechanics and combined them. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I'm more encouraged to see them saying, yeah, it's a whole new thing. It's not just Deep Dungeon 2. Like, it's a different thing. I think that is massively encouraging, and I think we as a player community should welcome things like that. We should welcome their creativity and their willingness to try new things, because they've been very stagnant, and that's been the biggest problem that we've identified with the game for years, really.
Well, and the optimistic side of me too, when I hear that it's brand new, just makes me think that, okay, they might take out like the Pomanders, right? I think you could still have a Deep Dungeon experience without having the Pomander system, or even just giving a different type of reward structure. And since we have Eureka right now where we build up the weapons, we don't need a second Deep Dungeon where we're building up another weapon.
Right.
But I want lightsaber weapons.
We've already got those.
Not just that. Not just that, but I think that the gap between a tome weapon and the weapon coming out of Eureka is not big enough to be able to serve a place to try to fit something like that in. And I really hope that for this Heaven on High, that they expand the loot outside of just one type of gear or weapon.
They really need to. So a few of the other notes that they gave us is obviously, all right, it's going to start with 100 floors. Now, whereas floors 1 through 100 back in the original Deep Dungeon, there were a lot of people that were doing those solo duo, and the way that this Deep Dungeon, the first Deep Dungeon, ended up falling was it's literally just there as like an XP catch-up. What they said about this is that starting at floor 31 and higher, those are being designed as a high-end challenge for parties of 4.
Now that's
super encouraging.
That's what I'm excited for. I've been saying this forever, like hard. Now, really, what it comes down to though is the rewards, because technically we have the Deep Dungeon 101 to 200, and they are fun challenges for a party of 4. Let me tell you, like I'm still at like 170. I haven't had time to go back and finish the last 30 levels.
Then actually you should be even more excited, Nika, because they specifically said that this mid to hardcore 4-man content that'll be tied to it, that they want this to sort of exhibit the same type of challenge that floors 180 to 200 did in the original Deep Dungeon.
No, that's awesome. It just, again, Is it just going to be for like, oh hey, I cleared it, or is this something I'm going to want to run a couple times with a static group of people to progress through and get good gear, or is it something I'm going to run once, get the achievement, and say yay? Like that's
okay. You didn't run it once and get the achievement the first time, Nika. So
hang on. No. This is super valid because I never really got very into Palace of the Dead because I was like, I don't want the weapon. Like I just was not motivated by what was coming out of it to be able to justify my continued my continued activity in it, right? So if it's floors 31 and up, I really sincerely hope that they give the same consideration to this loot pool that they did to Eureka. And I love one of the things that I love about Eureka is that you're not just going in there to work on the weapon, you're going in there to work on the gear as well, and that the possibilities that are presented by continually upgrading and expanding gear is something exciting, because that's something that is a little bit newer to Final Fantasy XIV and something that Square Enix could do something very creative with. And I kind of hope that they go back to kind of the Nizul Isle way of distributing gear through Heaven on High, because that was, to me, a really motivating way to be able to do it. So 31 and up, you clear 10 floors, 20 floors or something like that, and you get a different gear slot piece of gear. I like that idea. I frankly think that would keep people into the system a lot longer than just working on one weapon.
Well, not to mention too, I think and I understand why not just Square Enix, but a lot of games have gone away from this idea of just the randomized drops and gone more towards token systems or like the tombstones. But I think the problem that's starting to have on people is that there's no excitement to it. To a certain extent, when you know how many runs you have to do to get your next piece of gear, and you know what your next piece of gear is, you're just counting down the days to your next paycheck.
Yeah,
really. And there is still, sure, okay, I got my piece of gear. All right, that's exciting, but that will never compare to, oh man, I've gone 6 weeks now, and oh my god, I finally got my drop, or even holy shit, I got my drop on the first fucking try. This is amazing.
Right, but I think that there is Square Enix doesn't necessarily want that to happen. Although, them taking the need out of the Alliance raid, maybe they're a little bit more open to it. But I do agree that that's not usually Square Enix's, main MO. So, it's hard to say, but I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing here. And also there's a note using Magitech to do some sort of grand summoning. That seems kind of neat. I don't know what that is.
We'll probably
anyone's guess,
into
but
whatever this 4-man content is, but yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of details about what exactly that is.
We're going to heaven, so what could we summon that's grand in heaven?
Oppressor.
Well, see, all right, this is obviously 100% just like theory crafting type crap, right? So I can see it going one of two ways. The first way is that's how you do the boss floors. You get to a boss floor and you use magic to do some type of grand summoning. Or as you're going up these floors, maybe there's something that you collect to power some type of Magitech device, whether you get to the end or throughout it, to do a special summoning for like an extra boss or something that drops extra prizes.
That you can't get it every single time.
Yeah.
That's why it's more of a grand summoning than just a summon.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's pretty interesting. Another idea that they could do is remember the gear that used to come out of Diadem, the randomized gear.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things that they could do is they could use that as a ongoing or a lockbox type reward out of Heaven on High to keep kind of people, with a dabbling of like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, that was the entire focus really for for going into diadem, and everyone was like, yeah, that's not really a great reason to go into diadem. But I think if you've got a weapon that could come out of there, although I don't like the idea of a weapon, but like, you know what I mean? Like if you've got one static reward that you're purposely working on building up, and then the possibility of a fairly decent randomized stat reward, that could be another way of approaching it.
Well, not to mention, there's also another gap when it comes to your player base and giving them gear that isn't quite filled right now. You know, we've recognized that with the way that Eureka is designed, that you could do Eureka to catch up with your gear, or if you're not really into that, you could still just do dungeons in your Tomes of Mencia grind to get caught up to where you need to be. So it's kind of offering two different types of play styles, but with dungeons, that can still be very boring and monotonous. And with Eureka, you still, in some cases, need quite a few people. Now, obviously, it's easy to get into a big group of the NM train, right? But if you're looking for more of a smaller, intimate sort of setting that you can do with your friends, that's a little bit more exciting than just grinding out dungeon runs. If they did put in these randomized gear stats that, you know, aren't quite as good as Eureka or necessarily the Tome gear, but it's still a way to help you gear out your other jobs. The idea of going in on the weekend and just grinding out a bunch of floors and hoping, you know, to get randomized loot that you can put on some of your other, subclasses or whatever, I think that has a place in the game as well.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, there's a whole lot of different stuff that they could do to make it feel more worthwhile than original Deep Dungeon.
That loot idea has a place in the game, but not if they're billing this as really hard content for 4 players.
Well, that could also be a side part of it. They could still also have some type of...
There's going to have to be one big reward at the end of it, though.
Oh, I hope there's more than just one.
You know what I mean?
Bench, there's
yeah.
at the top.
I mean, a lot of the issues with rating, like as it is with 8 people and how much you have to progress, is scheduling. So like that's the biggest reason why I don't want really, really hard 4-man content that's on the level of a raid. And if they give us this, they have to give us
decent
raid equivalent, like some kind of reward that feels like it's worth raiding for.
How would you feel, Nika, if they did actually put straight up same item level gear at the top of Deep Dungeon as raiding?
It would depend on how easy it was to get there. It would depend on if I could just grind it over and over versus the weekly lockout of the other one, because it would be cool if it was kind of like not a weekly lockout, but not an every day, like something every couple of days. So that way I could do my weekly loop, like go through and do the raid, do 1 through 4 or whatever, get all my weekly tomes and whatever gear drops from there. And then go into this 4-man content and do it like 2 or 3 times a week in the in-between. So that way I'm still gearing out my gear, maybe getting something that's BIS or like somewhat close to it. So then I don't know. I feel like if I can just grind Deep Dungeon in one day, then it completely gets rid of the point of doing the raid. Yeah.
Or provides an option for raid groups that, like you, maybe on different, because some servers are small and maybe have trouble finding, you know, people to fill in their roster, but providing an option for people that, while we don't have what we need to fully man the raid, we can do this in the meantime.
Yeah, that's true too. And I feel like a lot of it right now too, like meeting DPS checks, like my group's currently now on 07 and we're progressing slowly through that. But I feel like I don't think that our gear is quite up to snuff yet to beat the final DPS check anyway, even if we mastered the mechanics. And this is something we could do to kind of help gear us, because you could only get 1 per week. Otherwise.
Yeah, but if the big reward at the end of it was, and Nika, I think you had suggested this idea, a raid equivalent strength ring to put in your second ring slot, that gives a pretty significant incentive to go do that for, you know, both kind of casuals and raiders alike. I mean, Lloyd had basically said in the chat, give us Raj's ring, which is sort of like that. I like the idea of it even possibly being scalable for the future, but even just a raid equivalent eye level ring, I think would be enough to get it done and keep people incentivized to keep doing it.
I think so too.
But what's the reason to keep on going back afterwards once you've gotten the ring?
What's the reason to do anything after you've already gotten the reward in this game? There is none.
Well, I would hope maybe that when you get to the top, all 4 people don't get it.
There you go.
5% drop rate.
So either it's a low drop rate or there's only one and one person gets it. So that way, because I mean, if it's only 4 players, it's going to be a static. You're going to want to help each other.
Yeah.
So that way, especially because I'm probably planning on doing this with 4 of the people in my raid static. So I assume that we would want to go back to then help the rest of our group gear up. So then when we go back into the 8-man raid, we're stronger as a group.
It makes a lot of sense.
I'd be into that.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
But, I mean, who knows if that's what they're going for with this.
Square Enix, we solved your problem. There you go. You can have that. You can have that one for free.
Like we do all the damn time. Just let us make the game already.
You're welcome. Okay?
Shit.
Jesus.
By the way, as we've said before, literally all 149 of you can call in about any of these topics that you may have comments or ideas on.
Yeah, we got a couple of folks waiting on the line. We'll get to you in just a second. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. If you've never called a radio show before, this could be your first one. You could call us a radio show, kinda.
Oh, yeah, we're totally radio show.
We would love to hear from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.
Oh
Now,
God, the last floor being a Kugane jump puzzle where if you fall, you fail. Get out with that.
I like it.
No.
Let's get into the part. I think a lot of people were surprised to hear about Heaven on High.
I was surprised they talked about that. Didn't we predict last time this would be in like the last patch as a catch up?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
No. I was expecting to hear about it. Like, I was like, if they're insane if they don't actually talk about it on this live letter. So that wasn't as big of a surprise. But the fact that they're talking about the next phase of Eureka does surprise me.
How come? Because we knew that we were going to get another one in 3.
We're going to be getting one in the
3.45.
4.3. What is it? 4.35. We're going to get one in every 0.05. So it's going to be 4.35, 4.45, and 4.55. Definitely. So why are you surprised to hear about it already?
The fact that they're talking about it in part 1 and not part 2. Because I would just think about this. We've actually got a part 2 to this live letter. There's more shit coming in this patch.
Okay, sure, but they didn't actually really give us any more details on it than we've already gotten. We knew there'd be new gameplay elements. We knew that there'd be
they told us that there's snow. We didn't know that.
No, okay, but think about it this way. We've already deduced from the Mystic Quest, 4 fiends that there's 4 elements and we've already gotten wind, so it's going to be one of the other 3. Okay, now we know it's snow.
We
Yay!
assumed that, Nika. We didn't get any confirmation.
How are we going to be able to survive fire? That seems very dangerous.
You're dangerous.
The one thing, though, that I am excited about, because obviously we've talked about it here and thrown this out a few times, but they did mention that they're considering pop item or entry key NMs similar to FF11 and 1.0.
1.0 didn't have pop item NMs. They had overworld NMs.
Did they have entry keys, though? We had
I think
they did for the primals.
For sure.
Instead of just queuing up for Garuda, you had to farm them up. Yeah. You had to farm items and then go in when you got like 5 or 10.
But I love this, though.
That's a great idea. We need something that makes it so you can't just go into a duty by clicking a button.
Yes. No.
Or just show up.
A barrier to entry is a good thing.
I love this. They're clearly interested in growing the system in complexity as they add areas. And this was the biggest concern to me when it came to Eureka, was that the next area that we would get was going to be a carbon copy and we were just going to get more levels. But I think that this is a clear indication that Square Enix is looking to make the system more complex. That's something that I'm very excited about.
Well, I think maybe they finally actually heard the subset of the player base that doesn't like the forgiving casual direction that the majority of the game is being taken in, right? And so they've given us Eureka, and now really if anybody comes out and complains that Eureka is too hard or it's leaving them behind, they can now say, well, then Eureka isn't designed for you go back to doing your dungeons and your easy raid content.
But there is a clear distinction in the way that that Eureka is or can be done versus the rest of the content, right? And we all identified, like, yeah, you do take a 10 eye level item hit, or eye level hit, right? But at the same time, you can grind out those pieces of gear way faster than you can the weekly lockout tone gear or the raid gear. So, you know, those systems are designed to keep you playing over a long term and to keep you subscribed until hopefully they can get their shit together and get their next patch out. But what is unique about Eureka, and what I think people are finding very refreshing, is that they can choose to, if they want, go in and grind that shit out and get it done, or do it over a matter of casually a couple of weeks or a few months, right? Like, dude, I'm like half a level to 20. I've already got my Pazuzu feathers. I unlocked the last part of my weapon. I'm done. Like, I beat Eureka, right? I'm finished. Hooray!
And Nemos.
Hooray for me.
Yeah. Pagos is coming for you.
So, but at the same time, like, I'm totally ready for this, for Pagos, right?
And this is probably the first time in a long time that you've actually wanted to get to that point where you're ready for the next update. Right?
Yes, it's actually kind of a nice feeling to, and the thing is I'm not like stressed out and logged in all the time. It's not something that really takes a massive amount of grind or dedication. It's just it's actually, I think, a very interesting and well balanced design versus what keeps you playing over a long term. And you know that does, you know, now it's like, okay, now I got to get my tomes to get the shit that's at 350 up to 360, right? So, you know, like, I'm actually legitimately playing the game again, and the fact that they're going to continue to support that style of gameplay, dude, I'm fucking in.
Moxath,
I haven't said that about Final Fantasy XIV in a very long time.
Moxath in the chat saying the IMO, the Fate Train method, still needs to be dealt with. It'd be nice if it was. However, given that this is the first area, I actually think that they may leave it, because it's an easier entry in, and it's something that if they do the pop item, key item entry, NM things in the next step, you're not going to be able to Fate or NM train that, because you probably have to farm up the item somewhere.
They could also do, much like they did with an entry key item for 1.0, they could make an instance that goes off of Eureka. So, and I think that that's actually a really cool possibility, right? Like, you're queued into Eureka, and that needs to be one of that and a key item or an item in your inventory are the two requirements to be able to queue into the, a fight with like a primal like entity. I think that's and a great way to challenge a small party or a full party.
Yeah, Moxath, it's only an issue if you look at level 20 as the end of it. If they're going to add something in 3.45 and 3.55, but the NM train doesn't exist in those, and level 20 is just the beginning, it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, this is remarkably encouraging in my mind.
I think I'm finally getting to the point, because remember I mentioned that I'm kind of I want to do more Eureka. I'm at, I think, level 11 now, but there's a part of me that's still just like, no, you can just wait till the next patch and do it quicker. That's what they've always done, and I'm starting to, I think, finally crest over that to where I'm like, no, get to 20 now.
Yeah.
So and you know, the stuff that they're talking about here of what they could be putting into the next one is definitely helping with that.
All right, let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Shinjima of Genova. What's going on, Shinjima?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, thanks for calling Limit Break Radio. What's going on?
Yeah, so I haven't called in a while, and I haven't really been keeping up with the show, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But
yeah, we'll forgive you this time.
Recently, I did listen to a bit of the Eureka show, one of them you had back in March, and I'm calling in because this is sort of like my response. And first, I want to ask you guys, what does LBR think of, like, what's the general consensus? Like, I'm getting the vibe that you guys think it's a good direction, but what's your, like, general consensus? Do you like Eureka? Do you think it's all right? Do you think it's acceptable content?
Yeah, I think that it presents a contrast in the way that most other content is handled in FF14, and I think that that contrast is good. I think that, you know, we've long identified the monotony that comes along with dungeon, raid, and then Alliance raid. You know, like, those were really only the 3 sets of content that you could do, right? Like, there were fates, but who's grinding fates as soon as you don't need XP anymore? And then there's hunts, and hunts, the interest in them had really fallen off and continues to fall off. I see very few people interested in doing hunts.
I only do a hunt if I happen to be in the same zone when it's called.
If I stumble across one by accident, you know, like, and I think that this was a very interesting way for them to take a section of the population interested in doing content like this and give them an area to do it in. I think that that was probably a pretty good idea. It's gotten me to stick around. Yeah, well, see, when I first went into Eureka, like, I went in day 1, I was really excited because it seemed, and first, I want to say I'm an ex-FF11 player, like, and my favorite thing to do in Final Fantasy 11 was, I know a lot of people hated it, I don't know why, but I love to level up different jobs, right? And make groups and make parties and grind mobs and get that chain bonus. And you know, like it felt great to go out, get a group together, get that chain bonus, you know, get mad experience points and level up quick, and then everyone else is looking at like, holy shit, that guy levels really fast, right? How does he do it? And that was my thing in Final Fantasy 11. Okay.
So when I went into Eureka, I was actually really excited because the first thing everyone did was they soloed, right? They soloed till like level 3 or 4. You can do that pretty easily. And then we started grouping up together. And then we started doing mob camps. And that was exciting because we're like, I literally had like nostalgia, like a nostalgia wet dream was coming to reality. Okay. Like it was, we were sitting there farming mobs in mob grind groups, and you know, we're trying to figure out which NMs are going to pop from what mobs, and it was all fresh and new, right? So for the first couple of days, I really liked Eureka.
Mm-hmm.
But my main issue with it is how, and I know it's a lot of people's main issue, it's the NM train, because it invalidates everything that they intend. I believe they intended it to be, that they had people enter Eureka with groups, and they find groups, and there's like a whole bunch of different people farming mobs, and then they have NMs pop, and you run to them, and maybe you don't run to them if it's, you know, too low level in NM, but that was the intention, I think. And NM trains just invalidate everything, and there's no reason to have a mob chain mechanic at all if you have NM trains.
No, I agree. I think that was probably an unintended consequence of the system, and we talked about this a little bit last week, where this highlights the reason of having a PTR and having a way to test this type of content, so you have ways to see how the content is going to be used by the player base. It shouldn't be open to public testing, right? Like, it shouldn't be when you get the content, that's when we figure all this stuff out. Things like the NM train would have been able to deal with, because they would have gone, oh, okay, well, people are going to level 20 NMs as level 1 and they're still getting XP. That doesn't seem right. But now that it's out, if they nerf that, then everyone would be up in be lighting their fucking hair on fire. I think that now, Square Enix definitely has a move forward approach to even programmed problems, right? They don't do very much shadow patching or hot fixing. It's really only to solve very, very essentially broken things. I think that we will probably see this addressed in the next series of Eureka Zones, right? But for this, and the thing is that knowing that there will likely be a total of 4 zones when all is said and done, that may be an acceptable thing to do 1 to 20, and then start to restrict that as you move forward in level progression. We don't know exactly what's going to be done about it, but I do think that it is. I do agree with you that it is a problem. I do agree with you that it runs counter towards the spirit of the system and the spirit of the event. What can Square Enix reasonably do about it now that we have it and that is the norm? I don't know that there's much that they could do without pissing off all of the players in Eureka.
Well, the reason, I don't know if they're going to do that, because I haven't heard anything from anybody that, has Square Enix said anything about the NM train? Have they said it's acceptable content? Have they said, because a lot of people out there think it is acceptable content, and I know why, because they want to, they want to watch Netflix while being AFK. And this goes back to my reason why I am calling in, because there was a caller you had a couple weeks ago. They said, well, if you're sitting AFK in the NM train, well, do something, right? But here's the reality of the situation. I wanted to level Ninja in Eureka. I wanted to play Ninja. So I'm a melee DPS. And we're at Bears, okay? We're at the Bears where we're going to pop Callisto. But all the ranged DPS are just killing the Bears before I can even run to the mob.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's going to happen when you have a whole bunch of, 17, 18,
Honestly,
19.
what happens in that is I'll go over to numbers and just start soloing just to do something.
Yeah. I mean, that's a way to be able to handle that. But I mean, I understand that your point.
My major issue though is I think that it's not like FF11 at all, and because in FF11. You didn't get a group together and say, hey, guys, we're going to go hunt NMs to gain experience points. That didn't happen. You went to kill NMs for loot. That's what we killed NMs for. You went to mob grind for experience points. Now, since NMs drop experience points and so plentiful in experience points, there's no point in doing mob grind. It's actually even worse. It was good when the NMs didn't die in 3 seconds. Now they do, because you still had time to run to the NM and kill the NM, then go back to mob grind. But the fact is, you have to be with the NM train. Otherwise, you miss the NM, and it dies too fast.
Well, they did say in the next iteration of Eureka, they're going to also have Magia board level sync, so that shouldn't happen as quickly.
So I do think I think that that's evidence of Square Enix having a very forward way of thinking when it comes to addressing problems like that.
But, like I've said before, too, I think it would be better if they didn't make it that it was literally the same mob spawned the same NM in the same position every single time. They should shift it around, shift the locations of the mob, shift which mobs will spawn it, shift where it will spawn, just do something, and also give it some more variations. There's only a couple that are even affected by day, night, or weather. Most of them are popped anytime. Right. So that way it's so formulaic and you just go this one to this one to this one. They should just shift it up a little bit, move them around the map, not make it so formulaic, and really there couldn't really be much of an NM train because you could be banging on something for so long it wouldn't even spawn the mob you were trying to spawn, so it would be more efficient to split up. So hopefully they'll take that into consideration in the future. Yeah, no,
I think that, and again, we've only got 4 bulleted points about Eureka, the next phase of Eureka. I do hope that they go back and revisit the discussion and tell us a little bit more about, some of the unique mechanics that could be employed. But between the way that, some of the S rank hunts are popped, they do have ways of being really creative with this. And I do hope that continues on into the next phase of Eureka, and based on just these 4 bullet points, I have a little bit of hope. Anyway, thanks for the call. Appreciate hearing from you, Shinjima. If you want to give us a call, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.
All right, and the other thing, this is going to, I think, take up too much time, but I was actually a little let down by this because I think we talked about it, or about ideas of what the next one should be, but they did mention the next installment of the Ultimate series would be a battle against Ultima Weapon. Is anyone else let down by that? Really? Like, we've had story mode Ultima, we've had normal Ultima, hard mode Ultima, extreme Ultima, and now Ultimate Ultima.
It's getting a little silly.
I mean, I did think that was a little silly, but also it's coming out in patch 4.31. That is also, I don't think this is the final Ultimate one, because the raid cycle is not going to be over by then. Because the next raid cycle is not even coming out to 4.4.
What do you mean the final Ultimate?
Well, because like in the last set of raids, we only got Ultimate Bahamut. That was, and you only could do that once you finished level 8 of Alexander. Or level 12, I mean, like the very final.
No, Nika, the Ultimate series is something that they're going to keep on doing. So there isn't going to be a final Ultimate boss.
No, right. But I always assumed it was like after all 12 of the raids were out, this was like the final thing you did. But now they're releasing it after only 8 are out.
No,
like,
I think it's just something that they're going to try and put out every once in a while.
That would be cool. It's just weird because now it's not following any kind of formula. So I'm wondering, like, last time we only got
it was supposed
Ultimate.
to,
I mean, what did they build it as is that once you are done with all the raids and have nothing to do, now you have a stronger thing to do, because you cannot do Ultimate Bahamut unless you clear 12, like Alexander 12. Right. So now for this one, are you going to have to clear Omega 8, and then there's going to be, the next 4 Omegas come out, and then there's going to be another one where you only. But now here's the thing: do you have to clear Omega 8 and Omega 12, or just Omega 12? Like, what's it going to be? Because now, like, it doesn't. If they're going to make the Ultimate thing its own series, it should be totally separate from the other raids then.
That's probably fair too, actually. Yeah.
So I was just a little confused when they said they were putting on an Ultimate boss before the raids were done, because I always thought it was once you're done with all the raids, here's the Ultimate thing.
What are you talking about, Nika? Because this is like, I assume that it's going to be like Bahamut, where you have to beat OS 8.
Whatever the current.
No, but that's what I'm saying, is that it didn't come out until all the raids for that expansion were done. And this one's coming out when there's still one whole set of raid to come.
So whatever the current highest tier is, if they're going to give it a lockout, it should just be whatever the current highest tier is.
So now I'm just wondering.
Hold on. Am I having a stroke? Did Bahamut come out during Stormblood?
Oh, maybe it did. Now I'm getting confused. Was it Stormblood or was it
no,
Heaven's
came
Word?
Out just before Stormblood.
No.
Was it Stormblood or was it Heaven's Word? I'm confused now.
Yeah, because you have to beat freaking X-Death EX to get into Bahamut.
Yeah.
God damn, Nika, come on. I don't even rate it. I know this shit.
For some reason, okay, I'm wrong. I'll eat my words. Yeah, for some reason, I thought it came out. Okay, so they're going to be releasing one every single raid tier. Okay.
Yeah. And now back to the topic at hand. I think Ultimate Ultima is a fucking terrible choice.
Why?
Because we've already fought Ultima like 8 times, and how much more can they do to that fight?
They should have picked Ozma.
I think they're still probably working on the Ozma one, but yeah, I would have even preferred Ultimate Titan at this point, which was the original one that was actually the very first idea they came up with when they were going to do the Ultimate fight.
It's just, I feel like they're just going to throw the 3 primals at you all at once. Like, oh, that's exactly what they're going to
do. Yeah.
They did say they wanted to make it shorter than Bahamut, but not any less hard, just not as gruelingly long. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like it's just such kind of a cop-out.
I would prefer them to pick bosses that we've never had a second go at that would just be fun to see in that ultimate setting.
I think that's why Bahamut was kind of cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, Gilgamesh, Ultros, like there's any number of bosses that they could have like just explored more with, but we're going back to Ultima, I guess.
Ookt in our chat room says Warring Triad, and I kind of like that idea.
Oh, yeah, all three of the Warring Triad, which is how they should have been from the start.
At once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all in their big phase at the same time.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
It would make all of the graphics cards explode.
Come on, you know Yerky would have done that if it's done that already.
It's true. I mean, Nika, does this do anything for you? Does this move the needle? I know that
Ultimate Bahamut was cooler of an idea.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I never was able to clear Exith with the level of burnout my group was going through before, and so I'm a little bit sad I never got to go into Ultimate Bahamut. But like, Ultimate Ultima does not. Like, I'm already motivated currently to try to clear, but not because of Ultimate Ultima. I feel like if it was Ultimate Ozma, I would be much more motivated to get there. Like, if it was something cooler, I'm not looking forward to another Ultima. I think Ultima has been overdone.
I feel like if it was Ozma, I might even like monitor like the world firsting of it because Ozma's fucking cool.
Well, Ultima Ozma, the question is that a full alliance fight or is that a just full party?
That's right. That's what they talked about at the fan fest, wasn't it? Yeah.
But like, I can't, unless they actually added in free company style rating that isn't just a duty finder, which I don't see them doing anytime soon. I think an 8-man Ozma would be fine.
You know what I think? I think they dropped the ball on the Ultimate fights because they could have done something really, really unique and special for Ultimate fights by having them be very, very hard 24-man content. Like, you had to find 2 other raid statics to join with yours to even attempt this fight. That's what they should have done.
See, no, I think that, honestly, I don't disagree. Like, that's kind of how FF11 shit was. You had to have, a free company or a link shell that was dedicated just for that. Like, the way they would have to do that would be you could only queue up through the raid finder and you could only queue up with the full party or full alliance.
But you
could not queue up with randoms because you had to work with your free company on a regular scheduled night. You'd only schedule people who could like come on a Wednesday night and you would do it every single week and you progress with the same people. That's the only way it would work. And I want that content. I've been begging for free company content since 2.x. I just don't see them doing that.
But the only way to motivate players on that level is to make the rewards worth it. And Square Enix is so squirrely about that I don't know that there's a reward good enough to be able to motivate that many players to dedicate that much time to first clearing all 4 phases of the raid and then going into the ultimate fight and, oh, hey, by the way, you need a full alliance for it. If they were going to do a full alliance, raid on that level, I don't think that there would be much prerequisite. I think you'd be able to just fucking queue for it. Because if you had a whole bunch of prerequisites, that's way too many barriers to entry. Unless those rewards were fucking incredible. That's the only way I would get it done.
Stop caring that every single player can do every single piece of content and just understand that, like Ultimate, not everyone's going to do it. So give us content where we have to get in a free company that has a scheduled day and that we have to commit and that we're going to be there and fucking give us that content. And if some people are crying that I have to complete all those other things, then this is not for you. Do the other content. Like, that's a thing in most MMOs. You pick and choose your content. You don't do it all.
But unless the reward is good enough, you're not going to find enough people to be able to populate the fucking event.
Yeah, but I still feel like if the reward is good enough and there's
like
a lot
if
of
the challenge, if that whole theory that it's the challenge that's the reward, you will never in the entire fucking data center find enough people that are down for doing this. You just won't.
I think you would find some people.
Really?
There are those people who do it for the challenge. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever
enough
people,
to do it once, maybe.
Yeah, once. I think whoever was doing the Savage Coil of Bahamut Tier 2 when it was relevant, those are the people that would do it.
All of those people quit the game years ago.
They don't
years
exist
ago
anymore.
I mean, honestly, like it really, like when it's just a full party, yeah, I'm with you. You can find enough idiots to fill a party. A full alliance, that is going to be a way bigger challenge.
Okay, but it's going to drop an item equivalent to a defending ring or a riddle. And it has a 1% drop rate, so you're going to farm that shit for years to come.
Then people will be falling all over themselves to find groups for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. But unless they... But Square Enix has never, ever done that for Final Fantasy XIV. There is no item that is fucking God tier. Every item that is even... I mean, you get God tier for 3 months max.
Would something like a cross-world link shell help to facilitate something like that?
No.
Oh. Well, I mean, those are coming.
They are.
I don't see that helping.
I mean,
honestly.
I do, because then you don't have to find people specifically on your server, and you can still queue in as a preformed alliance without... and it would be the same people every week. You wouldn't just have to re-party find across server. You'd actually find
I don't think you would have enough. I don't think you would have enough people.
You don't think you could find 24 people across an entire data center? I do.
You just need 24 Nikas. That's all you'd need is 24.
You need to have it as a schedule, like that. You say, like, okay, this is a group that runs every Wednesday.
No one will dedicate that much scheduling and time to something that doesn't have a reward or that gives you a title. No one will. You will not be able to fill an alliance with enough people. You just won't. Sorry.
I don't know.
It's got to have some kind of God tier item.
You might get that one JP group that does it, Nika, but look, even you have trouble filling a normal raid. Sorry, a normal savage raid.
Yeah, normal savage, yeah.
So no, I'm gonna probably have to agree with the Nero here. Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna take Square Enix, really making a change in the way that they do their reward system. Mm-hmm. And they're gonna have to start considering, we need something that is going to motivate the fuck out of players. And I mean, like, really get them like, I need that shit. And if you're not working for that shit, you ain't shit.
Yeah.
A glowy mount?
Stop it. Stop it.
Go away.
So the next thing on the list, and this is the thing where I think at least some of my skepticism and negativity comes from. So they're finally introducing the real FF14 app, and that's
Jesus. All right, I'm gonna go get a drink. Bye.
So this app features a number of useful things, such as access to the market board, inventory sorting, and chatting with friends. Now, there is both a free version and a premium version. If you have the free version, you can chat with your friends list. You have a scheduler, inventory management, and access to the market board. But if you pay the premium fee, which I believe is $5 a month, you get another retainer and saddlebag management, and it doubles your saddlebag capacity. And apparently there's also login bonuses as well.
This seems... I'm not complaining about a premium version existing. I'm complaining about the price on a monthly thing. I think I would pay a $10 or $20 one-time fee. I don't think it needs to be a monthly thing.
$5 a month? Are you fucking kidding me?
That's ridiculous.
Are you shitting me, Square Enix? God damn it, that pisses me off.
To anyone out there who doesn't think that Square Enix is bleeding you and doesn't think that they could operate on a fucking free game at this point, first of all, look at how much they add to the cash shop monthly.
Exactly. Okay.
Some of that bullshit is, and then take into consideration you're paying what, $12.99 a month. If you have one or two extra retainers, that's another $2 per retainer.
Yep.
And now they want you to pay another $5
a month.
Monthly.
Okay, but if you don't like it, then you don't have to buy it.
I mean, especially because all of the crucial things are actually in the free version. Like the scheduler and chatting with friends list already helps with raid organization and anything that you need to do. But like inventory management is nice and market access. Like everything you'd want in a companion app is free.
But
Square Enix fucking promised us more inventory, and now they're saying, okay, well, if you want more inventory to fix the problem that we created,
shell out $5 a month.
pay for it.
No, what's even worse than that is how many times have we heard, oh, but it's so hard to do extra inventory. And we've gotten it, right? But then suddenly this thing that's so hard to do, oh, if you pay $5 a month, you can have some more of it.
I just like they've been talking about this app for years. Since 2.0 relaunched, they were talking about this app. You mean to tell me it's taken 4 years to develop and enough money that you feel you need to charge your player base $5 a month to have access to it? Get fucked.
I need to make a correction. Taliesin in the chat saying that you don't actually get a free retainer. It just ups the maximum amount of retainers.
What?
I hope that is not true.
You can pay another $1.99 for another
that
retainer.
can't be true. Really?
That is insane.
Citation. I don't believe that. That's fake.
Taliesin, do you have link to anything that definitively says that for us? Because that's ridiculous.
Have you ever wanted to pay upwards of $50 a month to have access to a digital world that has objectively not all that much to do by the time you've reached level cap? Well, then here's Square Enix's Final Fantasy XIV. God damn it. This is fucking
correct me if I'm wrong, but people were talking about
Strife says it's real. It was in the interview.
No, I refuse to believe it.
But Strife says so. I believe Strife. I believe Strife way more than I believe you.
I know, because clearly I have wrong information. But think of someone was mentioning on one of the Facebook groups back in FF11 when we bought the security token. It was a $10 one-time fee and also came with like a saddlebag, right? It came with increased inventory. It was a one-time $10 fee. And it came with the security token and an increase.
It really helped you to keep your account safe and secure. It was a good purchase.
It was a great purchase. App. It was.
For $5
I feel like
a month, I should get that fucking iPhone case and put it on my phone. Which,
I think,
by the way, is the best part about this screenshot is that fucking iPhone case. Maybe I kind of want that. I'm going on Etsy right now.
Another $20.
It's probably like $15.
If this was like a $20 one-time fee, I would pay it because after 4 months, then technically it would, pay for itself. Paying $5 a month is stupid. And they're also saying, so you buy an extra saddlebag, you put a whole bunch of shit in it, and then your payment on your premium lapses, and now you suddenly can't access your raid gear, and then people are all of a sudden bitching and sending GM reports.
That's the problem that I have.
Why would you ever put your raid gear in there?
Because someone's going to do it and start bitching about it, and Square Enix has to cover their bases.
That sounds like a whole lot of your fucking problem.
Another thing, we just got the Chocobo saddlebags, and now suddenly we're getting the ability to double our capacity. No. We had our saddlebag capacity halved so we could pay for the other actual half.
Yep. There you go. Bingo. You're this is the thing. You've got to understand that when Square Enix says, well, it's difficult to program for about 3 years, and then when you get it, they only give you half because they put the other half behind a $5 a month paywall. How does this not piss off the entire fucking fan base of this game?
It should. It kind of has been. I've seen people bitching about it on Facebook.
I have too. Honestly, I think it's ridiculous to even ask $5 a month. $5 one-time payment. I'm fine with that.
If it was a $1, even if it was a $20 one-time payment, I would pay it. But even a $1 a month, I feel like is still stupid. A monthly fee should not be a thing for an app.
That's $12 a year. That's actually not that bad.
It's not as bad. But $5 is really unreasonable.
They are going to be making so much more money off of those Omni crafters who not only are they going to buy this, be able to use outside of the game, they get all these additional retainers now as well. It's ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous.
I don't understand anyone who omnicrafts in this game to get money, which is effectively worthless.
I don't know that they do it necessarily just for money. Well, hold on. It's not just for money. I think that people do it because they also enjoy like decorating and shit. I mean, we got an email one time about someone who became an omnicrafter to help like their friends in their link shell.
State Farm is there with the donation.
They help their entire
Thank you, Jake.
craft stuff and decorate.
Fuck you, Jake.
Stupid Jake with his fucking khakis.
Hey, I can buy 2 months of this mobile app now. Thanks, Jake.
That really is the most, like, I don't know, like I think it's a bit insulting to ask $5 a month from a game playing population that is already on the hook for 12. That's insane.
I agree. Like a $1 a month maybe is reasonable, but more than that, I feel like is stupid.
Like this is
inventory.
Can I get $5 discount on the jump
Juxta, but before you let your sub elapse and really got on the fuck Square Enix train, back when you actually had all your retainers and stuff, how much were you paying monthly?
Monthly, I was probably paying $25.
Wow, so you would be paying like 30 plus another 2 for the new retainer. So $32 a month for this game you could have been paying on top of the emotes that you would buy for $7 or the mounts that you would buy for $25.
Those aren't monthly fees though.
Still.
Well, no, because they add a new shit every month. So yeah, that's a monthly fee.
I mean, I guess so. But like, remember, wasn't it in FF11 they had a Mog Locker where you would actually pay with an in-game currency in order to keep it open? Like, is that not a thing anymore? Like, make us play the game to get an in-game currency to keep our inventory open.
I vaguely recall that.
It was Odd Ergen, yeah.
Yeah, it was an Ergen, like bronze pieces or silver pieces or gold pieces, and you turn those in. And like, I remember I would try to get so many that my Mog Locker would be available for like the next 10 years or something. Yeah.
Or if
I'm sure if you logged in now, it would still be open.
You just paid when you needed access to it.
Yeah, that's true too. But no. Now it's all about paying monthly with real life money, because why make people play the game to have inventory unlocked? No, just pay real money.
Dude, this is, I think this is a pretty concerning trend. The rest of the industry has got their fronts up about loot boxes, but I mean, like, nickel and diming doesn't even get to really, I think, to the point where Square Enix is now. It's bad.
But wait. We've been sitting here praising all this stuff. They're actually doing good things with their games. Shouldn't we, let them get away with getting more money?
No, absolutely not. This is, I mean, listen.
This crosses a line, I feel like.
I think it does. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially.
Jump potions did cross a line?
The fact that we had like 5 episodes in a row dedicated to jump potions proves it crossed the line.
But also, to be fair, they've said themselves that not as many people use the jump potions as they thought they would. So I think that it may not have came back to bite them, but it was just kind of like, oh, well, that was maybe a waste.
Yeah, because we can trust them to say something bad about themselves.
I mean, fair.
Trodun in the Twitch chat saying paying for retainers, the app, the cash shop. Yeah, SE's becoming the Japanese SE. Or EA, sorry. EA. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I didn't count. Wait, what did they do with Bravely Default?
Yeah.
What was the Dickory and Bravely Default? I know that the Deus Ex microtransaction stuff.
I think just that they made the second game crappy.
They're like, oh, people are buying.
Well, they also censored that game when it came to the West.
Yeah, that's true. They did censor a whole bunch of shit.
They changed the job classes and shit like that.
I heard the new Dragon Quest can be uncensored.
I think that Star may be getting bigger.
Conspiracy theorist. The meteor getting closer.
Right. Yeah.
Spelling it out for Nico.
Yeah.
Giving you money to get access, giving you more money.
Thanks, Darkfoot. You actually accessed our premium cheer mode, so now you can give us $100 and get exploding Excaliburs.
This is fucking. I mean, I guess it's not necessary. I don't know what that noise was, but I mean, I guess it's not necessary to being able to play the game. I think that asking for $5 a month when, you have a shrinking game population, I think that's a bad idea. It's a bad look for sure.
Does Juxta, do you know if the WoW Mobile Armory app, does that cost monthly?
Yeah, I don't know if there is anything monthly to it, but straight up it doesn't. Let me double check. Hold on. Wow.
Nope, I just looked it up. It says free.
I mean,
is there any in-app purchases or anything like that, or just
what does that app do? Is it more than just your armory? Does it let you communicate with people?
View all of your World of Warcraft character stats, equipment achievements, access guild stats, in-game calendar, other information for planning.
That sounds like a lodestone.
Browse the full complement of items available in the game, remote auction house, remote guild chat. So it's basically all the same things.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Wait, what's the Legion companion app? Because the Armory app almost just sounds like what you get on the Lodestone already. What's
the Legion app is lets you do in-game stuff as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's more like
in Legion. They're kind of like retainers, except way better because they give you useful stuff, and you can do them on the app for free.
And none of that costs money.
None of it. Nope. Yep.
So I guess the question is, if these apps for World of Warcraft gave you more inventory, would World of Warcraft charge you for them?
Good question.
I mean, is that I mean, what are we really paying for $5 a month? I think that's a fair question. Why does it have to be
monthly fee instead of one-time fee?
Just all you're paying for is basically have access to some of the game when you're not at the game.
I don't know. It's the only thing you're paying for is retainer and saddlebag management and more saddlebag inventory and an additional retainer.
Right, because all the stuff we want is in the free version. So really, the $5 a month seems a lot for if it was like the entire app was $5 a month, maybe.
Would love to get Darkstar's opinion on this. He should call and praise Juxta.
Praise.
Stop praising Juxta with your hashtags.
Seriously.
It just seems weird that the $5 a month gives you so little. Like if the entire app was $5 a month because you get everything, I mean, it's almost more justifiable. But like,
no,
not
actually,
really.
no, you're right because half of it's free. So essentially, you're paying for more saddlebag capacity and the ability to pay them another $2 for another retainer.
I honestly, why even do the free version? Just charge $5 flat
for the whole thing, right? They're more likely to make money that way.
I think I agree with that. Yeah,
I would probably still be upset, but a little less upset.
Yeah. The $5 a month is just I think that's so egregious.
Again, like why I don't understand why they're against one-time fees. Why does it have to be monthly fees?
What do you think the login bonuses are going to be, guys?
It's like app logins. If you log into the app every day, you get stuff.
It'll be an exclusive minion.
100 gil.
I think it'll be like what's the shit that you have to pay your retainers? I have like
ventures.
They give you little venture tokens. Here you go. Thanks for logging in 5 days in a row.
I mean, actually, free ventures wouldn't be too bad of it.
Are you kidding?
Bonus.
I have 5,000 of them.
Oh, then you don't use them enough because I'm always running out of ventures.
Then you don't turn in gear enough.
I turn in gear all the time.
Not enough. A few other small notes. There are some PvP changes. They're putting in that daily campaign rotation that I mentioned a few shows back. Adjusting the HUD of Feast. You can see other players' buffs and debuffs. And they're finally doing the revision for the Crystal Tower training grounds because apparently one lane was more favored than the other ones or something.
Great.
Yeah. Crafters can look forward to a new custom delivery client or custom delivery clients. I don't know, some stupid crafting thing.
No, that's another one of like how we had Chloe and then we had whatever. So like there's another one now. Yeah.
Awesome. Mannequins will be added as well as a guest book, so you can see who's been stalking you inside your house. Actually, can we get a guest book for the studio?
Absolutely, yes.
But are these mannequins 100%. That are going to let us dress them? Because I remember them saying at FanFest how hard it would be to implement a mannequin that we can change the gear.
Because then we can put a mannequin in Ascalia's old spot.
I hope I honestly, it would be funny if they let you pose them in different ways. Like it would be great if we could just have mannequins of our characters. So we never have to log in again.
Yes. Better yet, could you imagine Juxta putting on a mannequin sex show on stage D?
Wait.
Oh God.
It doesn't have to be sex though.
He's gonna resub just to do that.
Yeah, that's the point, Nika.
I want to be able to use my pay-to-win emote that's play dead, so I can have Escalia dead on the floor.
Job adjustments will be coming for Dark Knight, Samurai, and Astrologian.
They all need it.
Yeah.
Red Mage needs it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Red Mage does need an adjustment.
Why?
We're the lowest DPS with the most boring rotation ever.
Yeah, like Red Mage is...
reason anyone brings Red Mages to anything is so that you can raise the
yeah, like,
yes, you raise Monkey.
Yep, the meta seems to be you go on Red Mage to progress through raids and raise people as needed, then you switch to another caster once you've learned it.
For Kalos Fedora collection.
Classy neckbeard.
So Red Mage really does.
Appreciated classy neckbeard, but that's not even going to make a dent in Kalos high class tastes in fedoras.
Don't have fedoras anymore. I threw them all out.
Anymore.
I'm willing to admit
all of them.
Because you never owned a fedora either, Juxta.
You can't prove that.
Actually, I'm pretty sure there's pictures somewhere. I'm going to look for some after the show.
Prove it.
We mentioned the Crossworld Link Shells is going to have 64 people to start, but they plan to raise it in the future. You know what?
That's helpful.
Actually, this is going to be really cool. Hold on. Listen. No, we're going to follow in Square Enix's footsteps here because a Crossworld Link Shell will be really good, I think, for our fans. But we have way more than 64. Remember, even just on Sergeant Thomas back in the day, we used to have to constantly kick people out to fill more people in, right? So I think that we're going to have to start charging people a monthly $5 fee in order to join our Link Shell.
Once you can't pay anymore, you're out of the Link Shell.
That's right. Yeah. If you, I mean, it could be. If you lapse, you're out.
It's just we couldn't even make it like a Patreon only Link Shell because we have more than 64 Patreons.
We do. We sure do. Yep.
But this is definitely going to be useful for because right now because it's been so hard to fill the static. 3 of the people currently in my static are on other servers. What I'm hoping with Crossworld Link Shell is can we just go in the Link Shell list and invite them to a party cross server, or do we still have to put up a party finder with a private password, message every person individually the private pass? It's so frustrating. If they can just be in the Link Shell and I can just click and invite them cross server, that'd be so much more helpful.
Do you not have a Discord?
Yes, but some of them are still on trial, so they're not in the special thing. And I don't want to put it in the general chat in my Discord because there's other people in it. But anyway, I think
it doesn't like work. That's
I'm looking for quality of life things that should be we should if they're on my friends list, I should be able to click on them on my friends list and invite them no matter what server they're on.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have to make a party binder for that.
Items converted into glamour can now be reclaimed. Squadrons can use the glamour dresser and glamour plate saved to gear sets, and they're also adding performance action updates. 5 new animations and new note sounds, and lastly, we are getting a normal raid roulette.
So what does the normal raid roulette consist of? As in normal Alex and normal Omega? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's not so bad. That's
not so bad either. That's a good idea.
We've only been asking for that for a long time.
It's hard, man.
I don't know that I accept that excuse anymore, man. I just can't.
Okay, it's difficult, man.
Okay, man.
Unless they're going to charge $5 for it, then they can get it in there.
Dave's not here, man.
Oh my god.
We're dumb.
Yeah, we're cool.
So I think that's mostly it. Right? That's mostly it from the live letter.
So what do you think is going to come in part 2 then? Do you think they're going to give new content or just talk more about what Eureka actually is going to be? Or
I really hope that they're going to expand a little bit more on what we can expect with Eureka. The next phase.
And I want to hear more about Heaven on High too.
I think that's probably the fact that they addressed both of those things and said the next
new stuff with new things and stuff.
Right. The fact that they had at least addressed it to say this is in here, I think was essential for them to do, because we had been sitting around for the last patch going well, where is the new deep dungeon, right? If they didn't say anything about it
long than I thought it might be.
Yeah,
it sounds like it is.
If they didn't say anything about it in this live letter, I think that we would have given them straight up hell for it.
I would have also assumed at that point that it literally will just be a carbon copy, just reskinned.
And for catch up in the last patch or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that is Square Enix needed to at least say something. So, they could talk about, those systems and expand a little bit more on them. I mean, for what else they could talk about, I honestly don't know. You know, usually the part 2s is where we start seeing some of the video walkthroughs. Yeah, we'll start. I think that we'll probably see, you know, some of the Evil East raid in action, not in action, but you know, get to see some of the environments. I don't know. I'm actually pretty kind of looking forward to this next patch. Got to be honest with you.
More so than I have, yeah. Like I said a little bit earlier, I'm slowly getting kind of where you are in Nero, and I think once I get a little bit higher in Eureka, and I feel like I'm closer to completing, I feel like I've been like I'm a little bit more prepared for when the next one comes out. I think that I might be feeling actual hype for the game. I don't remember what hype feels like, so I'm not 100% sure, but
I want to say at least compare, because normally on the off patches, like I mostly look forward to the patches with the new raid tiers. So then seeing this, like the off patch, I will say this seems more exciting than the normal off patches do.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if I can call it hype, but I can definitely say it's compared to the previous off patches. This seems a little bit better.
Well, I think it needs to be weighted as such too, because you know it is always exciting to get the next tier of raids, and the raiding community really likes that. But then you know it has felt like, okay, well, what do the normies have, right? Like what does the rest of us have? Like there's
compass,
right? Like the people who don't like to spend 2 or 3 days every week getting punched in the dick repeatedly. What is there for those people to look forward to? And you know, the Alliance raids weren't enough to get it done, and I think now, you know, between Eureka and Deep Dungeon and Evil East, that there is a substantial spread of content that really makes it feel like, okay, there's some cool shit coming that I'm going to be able to participate in.
Yep.
So all right, I think that's going to be it, considering that we've run a little bit over time. Not too much, but a little bit over time. I want to think... What?
Just a smidgen over.
I thought you said a sminute.
What?
Like a smidge in a minute. A smidge in a minute, because I feel like that's the kind of shit you make. It's the shit that Juxta makes up.
Juxta's way more clever than that.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Penises.
Thank you, Jux.
Yeah. Good.
Or cock.
There you go. Thank you. In your row.
You're welcome. Anyway, stick around, guys. We've got more talking to do. Checkpoint Radio, the re-air of this week's radio show, is coming up next. We're going to send a host out to that channel. Hopefully, I want to see all 159 of you sticking around to check out some of Checkpoint Radio this week. If it's your first time going over to the Checkpoint channel, make sure you hit that follow button. We're doing a lot more than just the show there. We've also got episodes of Low Team Damage, our talk show for Overwatch and Overwatch League. We've also got gameplay of Overwatch, Assassin's Creed Origin, Far Cry 5, PUBG, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Hit the follow button when you get there. That's twitch.tv/Checkpoint Radio. Guys, thank you so much for your calls today. Shout out to Shinjima as well as Hazel.
Go in peace, LBR Army. May you walk in the light of the juxtaposition, the bird, and the bang mage. Amen.
Oh my God.
Amen. Praise the Lord, or praise the me.
I always knew Limit Break Radio would someday end when Juxtaposition would become a cult leader. I just didn't quite think that it would take 11 years to get there. But
well, you know, I'm playing Far Cry, and Juxta's next boss I have to go and kill.
What?
What do you mean? Oh,
there's a cult in there.
Oh, I get it. Anyway, thanks so much to our callers today. If you are listening on the podcast and you want to join us live, the show goes down every Sunday at 4 p.m. over at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Head over there, give it a follow, and turn on your notifications so that you know when we go live. We're also trying to get back into the habit of doing Reset Tuesdays. I've also been streaming Eureka when I'm playing, so you can make sure to join us over at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Checkpoint Radio is coming up next. Stick around. That's over at twitch.tv/checkpointradio. I want to thank my hosts, guys. I know that the weather was kind of shitty today, but we were able to muscle through it. We got through it, and I think we got a pretty good episode out of it as well. So, you know, that's the kind of quality that you get with Limit Break Radio. Even when the show production is disrupted, we're still able to bring you a fantastic product. It's worth supporting over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. That's going to be it for Limit Break Radio. I want to thank Nika, Kahlo, and Juxta. I'm an hero. Keep listening. Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. This episode was produced by Kahlo Landis, Juxtaposition, and Kooky Persona. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Nexian Theta, Hirsch Fersch, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit Patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at Facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at Facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at DiamondMM.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in.